Hi everyone, Krishna this side. In this video, we'll be covering this late code problem maximum candies you can get from the boxes. It's late code problem 1298. Let us go to the problem statement first, then I'll explain you the logic and we can write down the solution as well. So you have given n boxes level from 0 to n minus 1. You are given for array status candies keys and content boxes where status of I is 1 if ith box is open and 0 if the box is closed. Okay, the candies I is the number of candies in the ith box, so we have a bunch of boxes, right? So in each boxes these candies of I actually holds how many candies that are there inside that ith box. Key of I is list of labels of boxes you can open after opening the ith box. So the moment we process a box, inside that box we will be having bunch of keys. Those keys were basically pointing to the other boxes keys. Okay, so if the status is closed, we can open that box with the help of these keys. Okay, now container boxes I is a list of boxes you find inside the ith box. So when we open the ith box, we will get the candies from the candies array if the status is open. And once we check that, inside there there is a content boxes array which holds the other boxes. Okay, and those other boxes we can process based on the status. So you are given an integer array initial boxes that contains the labels of boxes you initially have. So there is an initial boxes array which we can initially process or starts from there. And you can take all the candies in any open box and you can use the keys in it to open new boxes. So whatever the keys we found inside there, we can use them to open another other boxes if their status is closed. And you also can use the boxes you find in it. So there are, if we found some content boxes inside that box, we can use them to further process and collect the candies. So we need to return the maximum number of candies and following the above rules. Okay, we basically need to return all the candies that we get it by following above rules. So let us understand here with the example. We have status array, we have candies array, we have keys, we have content boxes and initial box through which we can start with. Okay, so if we look here explanation, we basically initially given the zero box. Doesn't matter, there will be other boxes also because it is an array. So we starts with the zero, we check that its status is okay, it is open. So what we can do is we collect that candy and we store it in into a candies, whatever the candies, total number of candies that we need to return, inside there we add these candies initially. And if we look into the zero, for the zeroth content boxes, zeroth box basically holds first and second boxes. So what we will do is now, and if we look into the keys, there are no keys inside the zeroth box, so we are not processing anything. But there are content boxes 1 and 2, these boxes actually are there inside the zeroth box. So what we will do is we will go at first box, we check its status. So currently its status is 0, so we will not process it, but in the future if we get the key, we should process this box. Okay, so that is something what we need to remember. But we have two with us now. So we check that its status is open, so we collect the candies and we add it in the previous candies that we collected. So 7 is what we have previously, we add the 4 in it, so in total we have 11 candies now. And what else, we check for the keys each time. And we have a key of 1 for the second box. So what we will do is we will go and open the mark the status into the 1. And here is a catch. Okay, now key, since we open the first box and we already tried looking into the first box, so what we will do is this first box we will again get it into our queue or whatever we are tracking it. Inside there we put this one so that in future we can process it. Okay, so that is all about it. And what else, there is no content box inside 2, so that's all. So now 2 is already done. Now we can open the first box, right? Because we have the keys now and it was already in a process state, because we have seen that content boxes, in content boxes 1 was already in process state. But since we don't have the key, so we keep it aside. And now since we got the key, we can open it. So now the status was marked as 1, so we can open it. So we collect the candies, we add it into the previously stored candies. So we have so far 11 candies, because 7 plus 4, that was 11. We add 5 in it, now 16 are the total candies that we have. Okay, once that is done, we check for the keys. In the first box there is no key to open, And now we check that content boxes if there are any content boxes. So yes, there is this third box that we contain inside this first box. Okay, now we put these three into the queue. But remember that if the status is 0, we are not actually putting it inside the queue, but it is kept inside somewhere, so that in the future if we find the keys for the 3, we will process it and we can put it inside the queue. Okay, for that, like, we keep it inside the process state. Okay, since it is not process state, we can, if at any point in time if we find the key, we can process it. Now the key queue is actually empty, there is nothing inside the queue, so we can, since the box third is also closed, and we didn't find any key further, so that's all. So these many total candies we collected, and that's something what we need to return. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll create a queue where if the status is okay at any point in time we are processing the boxes. If its status is okay, open, we put it inside the queue and we collect the candies. Okay, that's the first thing we will do. And we will maintain a visited array. Inside this visited array, I'll keep three status rather than creating three different arrays. I'll do is I'll maintain their status. So currently by default all the boxes are in non-processed state. So by default the arrays values are marked with 0. And now the moment we put it inside the queue, so it is actually processed. And if we look into this particular first example, right, we are actually in the initially 0 is actually what we are keep it inside the uh, queue. That is from where we are starting it, right, because that's the initial point we got. So 0 is something what we keep it inside the queue. And what we will do is we mark its visited state as 1. Okay, because I labeled it, right. So if it is not processed, it is 0. If it is processed, it is 1. And we don't have the key, but it actually came inside our visited state, right, because 1 is actually came in the visited state. For that, what I'll do is, if we found the key in the later time based on the visited array, what we will do is, if the status is 2, we simply move that into the queue state. That particular box, we will shift it into the queue. Okay, for that, this 2 is something what I am marking here. Now for the zeroth box, since it is actually put it into the queue because the status is open, so I keep it as a processed into the 1. And what are the contained boxes, right? We check for the keys, there are no keys. Next we check for the content boxes, 1 and 2 are the content boxes, so we start with the 1. We check its status first, status is marked as 0. So what we will do is, for the 1, we in this visited array we mark this status as 2. Okay, now the status is actually put it as a 2. And what else, the content box, second box we have into this zeroth box, right? So what we will do is we check the status, this status is 1. What we will do is we put it inside the queue, we put it inside the queue. Sorry, 2 is what we are actually processing it, right? And I'll mark this process as a process state. Okay, so I'll mark it as a 1. Now zero's work is done. 0 we pull it out from the queue because there is no further content boxes that are there, and keys also we tried checking, there is no keys. Now we check again in the queue what is left it inside the queue. So 2 is what actually left in the queue. So we start with the 2 and we collect the candies. So there is a total candies variable we maintain where we keep on adding the candies respected to that boxes. And for the 2 we check what are the keys that we have. For the 2, 1 is actually we found the key for the 1, right? So what we will do is, since its status is 2, we check that whether its status is 2 or not. If its status is 2, what we will do is we mark its status to 1 because it is now in the process state, and we put that into the queue. Okay, now I shift that 1 into the queue and I change the status to 1. Okay, what else, do we have any keys? Since we check 1 is already processed, are there any other keys that we have? No, right? So there are no further keys. So that's it, we are now moving ahead. We check if there are any content boxes for 2. So there are no content boxes inside that second box, so that's all, we are done. Now 2 is actually removed from the queue. So we check, any data is left out into the queue, 1 is actually available in the queue, so we collect the candies from there. So 5 is something what we will collect it from there. Now we check what are the keys that are available, there are no keys into this one. we check the content boxes. So yes, 3 is what we have. So what we will do is we go to the 3 in the visited array, we check that whether its status is okay or not. Status is 0. So what we will do is we mark its status to 2. I mark its status to 2 because at any point in time in the future, if I find the key for this 3, I simply mark it into the process state and I put it into the queue. Okay. Now 2 is something what I have denoted for this 3 in the visited array. And since we are done with the content arrays as well, we are done. Now queue, the data from the queue we remove. Once the queue is empty, we are done. We got all the collected candies that we so far we are looking out for, and that is something what we need to return. So let me write down the code as well, and with that code I'll explain it the second example. So what I'll do is, as I said, I'll create here a queue, and integer data is what queue is actually holding. Queue new linked list. Okay. And there is a visited array, and this visited array size is actually this, let's get n from the status or from any of the array, because its size is same literally if we look into this particular, right? So all of them are having same size. Status dot length, and this visited array size is n. By default, all the visited arrays values are marked with 0. And what we will do is we check for this initial boxes array for int initial or current. From this initial boxes, and check first the status for this. If status of this current is actually 1, then what, as I said, we put it into the queue dot add or offer this current, and let's change this visited array's current status to 1. Okay, the moment we put it inside the queue, we will mark it as visited into this 1. Or else what I said, if we got that particular box in our hand but status is not okay, in that state, as I said, we will mark this visited of current into 2. We will update its value to 2. Okay, so that's it. We got this data into the queue. Now what we will do is, while queue is not empty, we will process it. Get the current data from the queue dot pull. Okay, now we are pulling the data from the queue, and what we will do is we go through, we whatever the, let us create another variable here, total candies, initially marked with 0. Let's update this total candies plus equals, from this candies array we get that data current. Okay, now total is something what we have updated it. We check for the keys, int key from this keys array for this current one, and let us check if the keys that we have, right? So visit from the visited array, we check for this key. If visited of this key is actually 2, in that case what I said is we will change the status from this key to 1, and we simply add it into the queue dot add or offer this key. Okay, now this data is actually available into the queue. Or else simply we will change the status of this one. Okay, that is it is not required to change this, but we simply do that. I mean, uh, in it is not necessary to do it inside else, we have to do it for all of the status, right? So change the status of this key to 1. Okay, now we change the status. Let us check for the content boxes for int box. From this content boxes of this current, we check that if if the, what is that, if this box that we got it right, so we check for the status. If the status for this box is actually equals 1, and visited, we didn't visit that particular box. Okay, so visited of this box is actually equals 0. In that state, what I'll do is visited of box equals to 1, let us mark it as visited, and we simply, what we are doing, we are offering it into the queue. Queue dot add this particular box. Okay, now box is added. There is another case, else if this visited, else if this visited of box is equals to actually 1. Okay, since that box is already processed, we don't require to do anything. Okay, we simply omit it. But what if the box is actually status is actually 2, right? What if the box status is actually 2? In that case also we don't have to do anything, right? I mean, I'm just simply trying out figuring out like what are the cases that we can do it, right? So if the status is 1, that means the box is already processed. We don't have to do anything, right? But what if the box is actually having status 2, right? In that case also, do we have to do anything, right? So we don't have to do anything. But there is another case, right? What if the status of that box is actually 0, and sorry, the status is box is actually 0? That is also another case, right? Else if, see, else if, what I'm trying to say is, status of box is equals 0. In that case, we marks its status visited of box equals to 2. Okay, that is something what we have to do it, right? And this is like base condition, like if status is okay and it is marked, so we are simply processing it. But status is not okay, then we are simply marking it into the uh, pre-processing state, like we have to process it further if we get the key. Okay, so that will be have form here in the keys array. Once we get the key, if the status was in visited, I mean the status is into this form, then we change the status and we add this key into the queue. Okay, that's it. All the time we get the total boxes and we return the total candies. Okay, let us run this code. Okay, total candies C should be capital. So this is like a BFS approach that we have used. We have seen it. Let me submit the code as well. Okay, it got accepted, and yes, you guys can try it out. Like just use single array, visited array, and try to see like how what are all possibilities that you guys can get if still didn't get from this video. And if get it, then thank you for watching this video as well. And yeah, bye bye.